What happens then, when you do that, you are approaching them from a position of strength, and you're able to get a commitment from the leaderships and the leaders in that company. If they're trying to recruit you, then you're able to get commitments from them to help you build your business, rather than just walking in the door the first day there and say, hey, I'm so anxious to join your business, your organization, and they're not going to take you serious, are they? So that's very valuable to do it that way. Now, so when we go there to these meetings, there's a few rules that we want to apply, which again is different than what most people do. Number one, we always want to have a bunch of cards, because our goal is to get cards from 80% of the people in that room that we do not already have cards from, up to 30. And it can be done. I just told you the other day I got 35. One of the reasons is because you always get there 15 minutes early and stay 15 minutes late. So that gives you an extra 30 minutes of networking. And on the 30, you get there 15 minutes early. The early birds are there. And also, if you think about it, the people that are around there, you'll see a few people in the room that you didn't get to talk to, that after the meeting that you can get to, that you've identified as people now that you really want to meet because you've been watching them during the meetings, okay? So, get there 15 minutes early, stay 15 minutes late, at least. And 20 is okay too. A lot of times I'll set a couple of appointments on my way out the door with people I've talked to previously that said they were interested in talking to me, and then I've had time now to look at my calendar, and I'll go back and say, hey, you want to just set an appointment right now? And some of them say, well, yeah, let's do that, because now the rush is over and it's all over, so try to do that. Okay. Now, another rule. Most people go into the room and they'll pick people that they know and they'll start talking to them, and they'll spend most of the time talking to people they already know. And that's not going to be a lot of good for you, okay? Also, if they don't know anybody, they'll maybe get introduced to a couple of people and end up digging deep. In other words, they'll spend a lot of time with one or two or three people. So remember, our goal is there to swap business cards. Our goal is you're going to make friends with these people later. You're going to establish relationships with them later. Now, you don't want to be one of those people where you look like you're in a hurry, that you're just hopping. But I think I gave an example the other day of how you can, if you go back to that presentation, on the presentation number 2, you can see where we spent, 3 minutes together, and it was with somebody, I forgot who it was, you and I? No, it was D, and it was very comfortable. So 3 to 5 minutes a person or in a group. A lot of times I'll walk up in a group where there's 3 or 4 more people and swap them all at once. Okay, that way you can give your little deal, to 3 or 4 people at once. Okay, so go something like this. My name's George Sims, and how you doing? And I'll call them by name because everybody's got a name tag on. It's good to meet you. Let me give you one of my cards, and I'll swap cards with them. I always look on the card. Notice if there's an address, because you're going to want that address later. Don't say anything about it right then. Then I immediately ask them, what do they do? I say, and I'll kind of look around at their tag and say, Candy, what is it that you do? Tell me more about that. And then they'll tell me, okay. And eventually, they're holding my card. See, I handed them that card first for a reason. They're holding my card, and they can't keep from looking at it. It's human nature, all right? Human nature. You always want to let human nature work for you rather than against you. It's human nature. They're going to look at it eventually and say, send out cards. I'm not, what is that, or whatever. Oh yeah, I've heard that, or whatever. And if it's your business, they might say, well, I've heard of this, or I haven't heard of it, or whatever. What do you do? Well, then you do what? You give them how much information?
Less than is expected.
Less than is expected, and then you ask another question, or you make a comment. It's just you never answer 2 questions in a row without asking one, because you want to be in control of your environment at this time, because you're going to spend how long with those people? 3 to 5 minutes max, okay? Now, so we work around the room, and somebody asks me a question. Well, how do you get away from a person who's just trying to control your, who doesn't know the rules and is trying to give you too much information? Well, sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I want to learn more about your business, but I see somebody over there that I really need to talk to, And let's touch base later. And why don't you just, call me next week, and I'll be happy to spend all the time in the world with you, okay? Sometimes you have to do that if a person's really being obnoxious about it. But it's not only a real big problem, okay? So, you want to have your cards out. I can't tell you how many networking meetings, just like the other day, I went to these networking meetings, and nobody had their cards out. I mean, I saw women having to dig into their purses to get their cards out. Men having to look in their billfolds around here digging their card, to get their cards out. Have the cards in your hand. If you want to put your hand in your pocket, that's okay. Ladies, if you have, have a little carrying case or something that you can carry in your hand. Have your cards readily accessible so that you can swap those cards quickly, because you want to do what? When you walk up, you want to give them the card, or shake hands or whatever, and then give them the card immediately so that they can have the card as you're asking them what, and you just say, let me give you one of my cards, or let's switch cards or whatever. Okay. So, how many cards do we want to get? 30. Actually, we want to get 80% of the people we don't already have cards from up to 30. It's really difficult to get over 30. That's only the second time that I've ever been able to get over 30 cards from a meeting. But I can already tell you that I had 5 people in there already said, call me for an appointment, and I've had one guy call me last night for an appointment already out of that meeting, and I have not made a follow-up phone call yet. Of course, they're all going to get cards, right? So that's kind of an overview of the second part then of this SendToShare strategy, is how to act at the meeting. And it's very critical not to do what everybody else is doing, which everybody else gets off in a little cluster and they stay there. And sometimes you almost have to just break in the cluster. Like I'm never rude, I'm never walk, but I'll walk up where the most open area is, and I'll walk up and I'll have my cards in my hand like this, kind of like this, not out, but I mean just kind of holding my hand, and I'll stand there with my arms up like this, waiting until somebody turns around and recognizes me, and I just say, won't take but just a minute, I just wanted to give you guys my cards. Well, then now what happens is the whole circle opens up, and you switch cards with everybody, and somebody doesn't give you one, you ask him for it. You just say, Bill, do you have a card? I want to learn more about your business too. And you switch the cards. And then, if they've been in a real tight conversation, spend a couple of minutes telling them, what you do with very 15-second clip. You've got to have 3 sentences. Right, 15-second clip. And if they're not open to you staying there, then you move out. Just wanted to give cards with you, and so that we can maybe learn more about each other's business later. Okay, so that's important. All right, so now, the third part, or actually what we're talking about today, is now once we've gotten all those cards, what do we do with them? Well, we go home and we put them in our computer. How much time we have? Okay, we go home and we put them in our computer. And what I do is I enter them into an Excel spreadsheet. And I'm working now on my scanner, Candy.
Are you?
Trying to get that automated so that I can do that real good, but I don't have it down pat yet. So right now I'm still putting them in my Excel template. So I have an Excel template that has all the information on it that would be in, on a business card. And then I have an extra column on the first column of that Excel spreadsheet, the group. Like for instance, this was the next level networking group and the date. So I named that group by whatever the name of the group is plus the date that I met those people. And that's what I'm going to put in that first column on that Excel spreadsheet. Because now when I go over to my Send.Cards database, all right, then what you're able to do is you're able to make a group by the same name, so that when you import it into that database, then it will already be signified, and you can identify that group, and you can sort on it, you can do whatever you want to in that group, and you always know how you met those people and when you met them. And the whole purpose of this system is to not only turn prospects into